one of the habits that I teach in my class is called an emotion habit, and it's just a daily checking in and processing some of your emotions. And it has been probably one of my most life-changing habits. Some days it's high stakes, like deep work, and some days it's more lower stakes. So today I was processing just feeling what I had to do because I'm launching my course. I'm leaving on my missions trip tomorrow. I come back and Aaron's family is going to be here, and we go straight to a family wedding. And so it's just a lot that happens to fall at once. And in the last year and a half, one of the things I've really done is break up with busy. So in the feeling the stress and busyness of it all, I realized that I was just getting kind of triggered. So I did some work today, and I realized that when I hit a busy point, I feel like I have reverted back to like my old ways. So then I actually subconsciously think, oh, you're bad. You've lost the ground you gained. So I actually just systematically was writing out like, hey, the reason I'm busy is this mission trip. We only had 2 dates to pick from because the whole year was full. Even when we signed up in June, I chose this one. It's been on the books for literally 9 months. That's not flaky or irresponsible. It's not like a last minute shopping trip to another city. Like, this has been planned, and this actually aligns with a lot of my core values. Like, okay, so I'm not flaky for doing that. Then launching my class, there was a few moving components that made it happen. My class actually launches 2 days after I get back from my missions trip, have my in-person class immediately the next morning, and then my virtual one, and trying to wrap up all the details for that, which is just more upgrading my content to take it to the next level versus like, at least I'm not creating it, So it's all lined up. It's just like, oh, I've never done a slideshow before, or formatting my homework and all those things. So that's the same time as the missions trip detail. And then when I come back, my husband's brother's getting married, and realizing like, hey, that's actually not my fault either. I didn't pick that date. So like, me subconsciously feeling shame that I'm busy and have a lot of deadlines falling at the same time is unfair to myself. So that's one of the reasons I actually physically write it out, because it helps me shed light on almost like critical thoughts that I'm unaware of. Because it's like, I knew I felt anxious, and I knew I felt like probably a little bit of shame, but I would not, until I actually took the time to write it out, I would not have been able to tell you where that stemmed from, and realizing like, oh, it feels like I failed because I'm busy again and chaotic, and I'm not that person anymore. So it almost felt like reverting back to being like, a step backwards, but like, oh, actually it's not true. This isn't my normal. So I'm going to have grace for myself. And then the other thing that I realized is how often, what I've been finding is when I feel overwhelmed, like a lot of things converging and deadlines and kind of, a lot of work to be done at the same time. It's usually when I feel overwhelmed again. And that I often as well have associated with some identity statement of like, if I had planned better, or if I just utilized my time more, I would not feel this way. Like, I'm doing something wrong to feel this way. And then as I've been doing the work of actually plainly writing out, I'm like, actually, I am really great at using my time well. And I literally watch no TV, like all the time wasters I used to have in my life are gone. And I schedule my day out, and I'm actually really responsible with how I spend my time. So this inner judgment that I have towards myself is untrue. Like, I don't feel overwhelmed because I haven't used my time well. And then coming to the fact of like, actually most of the time when I feel overwhelmed, I'm really just encountering my limits as a finite person, and I actually can't do it all. And I think subconsciously I know that in my head, but my heart still gets disappointed when I can't do it all. So in that, whenever I come up to that, like, oh, I'm overwhelmed because I actually expect that I can squeeze in 36 hours of productivity into a 24-hour time period. That's unfair. I have limits. I'm okay with my limits. So for me, making the swap of like, hey, God, I did my best. You're going to have to cover the rest, but I'm also not going to judge myself when I reach my limits. And when I feel the overwhelmed, like, no, it's okay. Like, I did my best, and good enough is going to have to be okay right now. So in the not packing yet for my missions trip, in the maybe probably leaving my husband a crazier house, messy than I would like to, it's okay, because I actually did a really good job preparing, and this is the best I could do, and I'm not going to judge myself when I'm actually working really hard. So I'm just curious. I'd be intrigued if you, the next time you hit like overwhelmed, like sitting down and actually writing, like, why does it feel like, what do you feel, what emotions beyond overwhelmed? Like, overwhelmed is kind of like a state rather than emotion. So like, do you feel shame that you didn't do more? A lot of times people in my class realize that they have unrealistic expectations of themselves, and that's why. So it's like, when they hit their limits, can you actually be kind to yourself? when you hit your own limits.